Good morning. In this video, I'm going to explain you about biogeochemical cycles, which is one of the major functions of an ecosystem. Biogeochemical cycle comes under nutrient cycling. Let me just first tell you what is biogeochemical cycle. Bio means living, geo means we consider abiotic, chemicals means nutrients. Half the nutrients are circulating between the living and biotic and abiotic components of an ecosystem is what the biogeochemical cycle is. Means the biogeochemical cycle itself can regulate the ecosystem, can maintain balance in the ecosystem. So that biogeochemical cycles we are going to discuss in terms of considering few elements, few chemicals into consideration. So the major for biogeochemical cycles are these, but as per our syllabus, we are just discussing about the hydrological cycle, carbon cycle, and nitrogen cycle. But apart of these three, there are two more few important biogeochemical cycles, that is phosphorus and sulfur. Let's start the water cycle or hydrological cycle. As you know, this water, major source of water is rainfall. Initially, the water cycle starts with the evaporation. Water got evaporated from the earth, from various water bodies to the nature, and then they will be undergoing condensation, and they'll come back to the onto the earth in the form of a precipitation, in the form of a rainfall. The process is called precipitation. This circulation, this continuous process of evaporation and precipitation is what called as a hydrological cycle is. Let me show you this in the form of a picture. So if it is a water body, if you consider, it got evaporated, and uh, and there will be some respiratory loss or transpiration by which also the water got entered into the nature and forms the cloud condensation. And once they reach, they touches the cool air, it just precipitates, means rainfall will be there, and then it just run off on the surface. If you take the after precipitation, after rainfall, there are various possibilities that water can just flow on the surface runoff will be there. Ultimately it reaches any surface water body, or else the water can penetrate into the deeper layers of the soil and then recharges the underground water. There are different possibilities we do have. So whatever may be, it can be either surface runoff or penetration into the deeper layers. The rainfall, if properly utilized, if it is not got disturbed by the human intervention, simply it recharges the available water bodies. Again, it is a continuous process. Again, the water bodies got evaporated and condensation, precipitation. Again, it got recharged. It's a continuous process, and it maintains the availability of resources, water resources on the earth, until unless human is interrupting this cycle. So other cycle is what? Carbon cycle. So as you know that carbon is an essential element by which an organic matter can be synthesized. Even plants and different types of animals require the carbon. And the basic source of carbon is our food, organic matter from the plants. And for the plants, the basic source is again the carbon dioxide in the nature, which is a basic source. And by a process called photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is taken by the plant and converted into different hydrocarbons. And that from the plants, it just moves on, it just transfers into the different types of different levels of organisms, and then ultimately reaches back to the nature. How? We'll just take a look at this picture. Solar energy is utilized by the plant, absorbs the carbon dioxide which is there in the nature, and then converts into an organic matter, organic carbon. And that organic carbon is transferred through the food chain into different levels, where again another source is of carbon dioxide is in the nature is the industries. from the industries, from vehicle, by burning the fossil fuels, carbon dioxide is released into the environment. Apart from the industries and all, we may even, the living organisms even releases the carbon dioxide by respiration into the nature. And this is the source of carbon dioxide, which ultimately absorbs by the plant and transferred to the different organisms. And another thing is that when a dead organic matter is there, it can be plant or animal, it just buries under the ground. And because of the temperature and pressure under the ground, they'll be converted into a fossil fuel, which is also another source of a carbon. And this is again a continuous process. Carbon dioxide is released by various sources, or whatever I mentioned, into the nature, and then they'll be absorbed by the plants, and then it transferred to the different levels. And it can respirate, animals and plants can respirate carbon dioxide into the nature, or else their dead bodies can release the converted into the fossil fuels. This is a carbon cycle. And then nitrogen cycle. As you know, nitrogen is an essential element for the plant's growth. And this process can be done by a bacterium, the process called nitrogen fixation. And the major source of nitrogen is atmospheric nitrogen gas, which can be converted into different forms of nitrites, nitrates, and ammonia by various bacteria. I'll show you this image. First, I'll tell you what is nitrogen fixation. I think everybody knows that about a rhizobium bacteria. Rhizobium bacteria generally available on groundnut leguminous plants roots in the form of a nodule, and that rhizobium bacteria has the enzymes to convert the atmospheric nitrogen into different forms of nitrites and nitrates and ammonia. That process of conversion of atmospheric nitrogen into the available ammonia form or nitrates and nitrites form is nitrogen fixation. And then assimilation means the plant takes the nitrogen from the soil, absorption through the roots, that ammonium ion, and all that nitrogen, whatever consumed by the plant, will be transferred to the next levels. This is what assimilation. Then another process is called ammonification. When a dead organic matter is there and dead body is there, it contains various types of amino acids, which is a major source for the ammonium ion. And by the function of bacteria or fungi, that organic nitrogen can convert into ammonium ion. That process is called ammonification. Nitrification means again the organic nitrogen amino acids can be converted into nitrites or nitrates. This is called nitrification. Nitrobacteria can do that. But there are few other organisms even do the denitrification process. Denitrification process means the nitrates or nitrites can be even reduced to the gaseous nitrogen. Again, this is also done by a bacteria itself. We have to collect all these processes together and represent in the form of a cycle. This is what the nitrogen cycle. It maybe looks clumsy, messy, but you start with the source first. This is a atmospheric nitrogen, and first there will be a nitrogen fixation by different types of bacteria. So this is what represented by this arrow, nitrogen fixation. And this can be done continuation by ammonification, nitrogen fixation in the soil and ammonium ions, and that ammonium ions are consumed by the plants. Even the decomposers are also, if any dead organic part is there, as I told, nitrogen is stored in the plant and then transferred to the other animals, even to the decomposer. By the after the death of the plant or animal, they'll be converted into again ammonia. That is what ammonification. And then nitrifying bacteria can convert into nitrites and nitrates, and that can be directly assimilated by the plant, or else the denitrification process can also be done. So this is a continuous process. Atmospheric nitrogen is converted into different forms of nitrates absorbed by the plant and then transferred to the animals, and then after death decomposed and converted into ammonium ion, or else it can be converted into different forms of nitrites or nitrates, and they can be even denitrified back into the atmospheric nitrogen. This is what the nitrogen cycle. By this process, the nature itself can maintain a balance in the nutrients. This is what the major importance of biogeochemical cycles. Thank you.